Good Wednesday morning to you. I hope that you are doing well. I have a question for you, though. Have you been to the grocery store lately? Have you had trouble finding the things that you need? Have the shelves been empty? I know that we have certainly experienced that a lot. There are some things that we've been looking for and we haven't been able to find. And sometimes when we run into that, we think, gosh, people are being so greedy. How can they buy up all of this? How can they buy so much toilet paper all at one time? And we just think it's greed that people are motivated by. But I think for most people, it's not greed that's their motivation. It's really fear. People are motivated by fear to buy up as much as they can at the grocery store. People are afraid that there won't be enough. They're afraid that if they don't buy up everything that's on the shelf of that thing that they need now, well, the next time they go to the store, there won't be any there. Or maybe they won't be able to get out to the store again. And so they're motivated by fear. But I want to encourage you this morning that we can trust Jesus for abundance. Now, that may not always be abundance in the material sense, to be sure. There may not always be abundance in every little thing that we want. There may not even be abundance in the way of health, and that is something that many of us are having to wrestle with right now. But when it comes down to, especially spiritually, when it comes down to just the things that we need to live, there is abundance in Jesus. And that's what I want to share with you this morning from Luke chapter 9. And we see this in Luke 9:10 through 17. And what's going on here is that Jesus is teaching people. There's a crowd around because obviously it's Jesus. And so people are flocking to him and hearing from them. And it's getting late in the day. And his disciples come to him and say, Jesus, it's getting late. It's time to send the people away so that they can get something to eat. But this is how Jesus responds to his disciples. He says in verse 13 of Luke chapter 9, "You give them something to eat," he told them. And so the disciples immediately, they're focused on the lack, right? They're focused on their inability to feed the people because they think we don't have enough food. Even if we went out and bought in the markets, there would not be enough for all of these people to eat. And so they're focused on what they don't have. And we think, gosh, those silly disciples, Jesus was right there. How could they not see the answer? And I think, we do the same thing, right? We're focused on what we don't have or what we're afraid we won't have. And so if I'm being honest with myself, I'd probably be there with the disciples. I'd probably be saying, what, Jesus, there's not enough to go around. There's no way we can do this. But this is what Jesus does. We continue on in Luke chapter 9. Jesus tells the disciples, have them sit down in groups of about 50 each. They did what he said. He had them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke them. He kept giving them to the disciples to set before the crowd. Everyone ate and was filled. They picked up 12 baskets of leftover pieces. My favorite part of this account with Jesus is how you see the abundance that Jesus brings. Jesus doesn't just give the people just enough so that they can get by. He gives them an abundance. It says that all the people ate and they were filled. So we may not always be promised material things, right? But we can trust that if we give our life to Jesus, there will be an abundance. If you give your life to money, there's never enough money. If you give your life to fame, there's never enough fame. If you give your life to having a sense of safety and security, you can never feel safe or secure enough. But if you give your life to Jesus, there's always abundance with him.